Hello and welcome. My presentation today will be based on play and the theories involved with play. So the first theory that I will be reviewing is the social cultural theory of play. This theory was developed by Vygotsky. So this one goes over play as an essential part of children's cognitive and social development. So the theorists believe that play was essential for both the child to be socially and cognitively developed as they grew. So through imaginary play, children learn to regulate their behaviors and their emotions. Their play supports the development of language, problem solving, and self-control, and their social interactions during play help children construct knowledge through collaboration. So they're able to see what they're viewing, they're able to interact with it, and try to emulate it itself or watch others do it as well. So this theory in action, in the picture you will see this theorist, Vygotsky, does talk a lot about scaffolding, specifically adult scaffolding with the child with an activity, so they're also able to help them. And they also talk about a lot, specifically zones of proximal development, which I'll touch base in a moment. So that's what the child is able to do in that time, developmentally, where they're at. The teacher is there to help them assist them to be able to develop those skills. So pretend play encourages creativity, symbolic thinking, and abstract reasoning. Collaborative play also develops communication, collaboration, and teamwork. So this is working with others as well, that social aspect of it. Teacher scaffolding, as I mentioned before, is learning by practicing an extended child's play experience. So it's again the teacher working with them or the adult working with them to develop those skills. And then the zone of proximal development is where children achieve more with the adult or peer guidance. So they start off on one point, and then with that scaffolding and that guidance, they're able to grow into a different zone of development. So Vygotsky research supports that social cultural principles of the classroom activities promotes responsibility, social competence, and active engagement among elementary students. And this is research done by Asar Kashani in 2025. And so overall, the play is a powerful learning tool that fosters higher order thinking and social development, responsibility, and meaningful learning through guided information. The next theory we'll be going over is the cognitive development theory of play. So this one is the different perspective of play. So for this theorist, the play reflects on children's stages of cognitive development. So they'll go through different levels. We'll touch base on them a little later in this presentation. Children actively construct knowledge through exploration and interaction with the environment. So children are able to learn through interacting with their environment. So we get a lot of examples of babies, infancy. We've noticed they grab a lot of things, put a lot of things in their mouth. That's how they're exploring the world, is orally in that stage currently. Different types of play emerge as children thinking becomes more complex. So we'll see more of that pretend play too will become more intricate and they'll have more details. And then constructivist learning. So based on the theory of the cognitive development theory that emphasizes hands-on experience, exploration, and playing supportive cognitive growth and problem-solving skills. So again, this is really being hands-on and working with the materials. So this theory in action, like I mentioned before, there's stages of play. So there's practice or functional play, which is kind of repeating the actions of exploring what they've seen before for developing motor skills. So they're repeating what they've seen already. They're bringing out the pots to take out to cook, stirring the pot to make sure nothing sticks. Symbolic plays using imagination and pretend scenarios to represent real life experiences again. So using the cooking scenario, they're cooking for their family, for their friends, they're hosting a dinner, they're making the food, they're prepping everything. And then games with rules, so learning cooperation, fairness, logical thinking, and problem solving through structural play. So that way they understand that there's sets of rules that have to be followed in order for the game to continue. Like I said, so you'll see here a lot of repetitive that they see in a lot of imaginary play. So here in this example, we see two children who are dressed as a firefighter and a police officer, and they're imitating what they've seen or what they know of the knowledge of these two um, community members, and how they would interact, or what interactions they've seen, and how they're able to mimic it, in their actions and their characteristics and the words maybe they say, and some things that they do. And lastly, the last theory that we'll be going over is the social play theory. So this one will be based off of Mildred Patron theory. For this one, it explores how children's social participation in play develops as they mature. Children's play becomes increasingly interactive as their social, emotional, and communication skills grow. Obviously, as their vocabulary develops and they go through life, feelings, and things are experienced in life experiences, they're able to kind of mature and able to express themselves a little better, and kind of put words and be able to express what they're feeling in the social participation of play, of how they would react in certain situations. So the 6 stages here of play is unoccupied play. So this is more for the infants, where there's random movements. There's really no clear purpose. Kind of just exploring the world at this point. There's solidarity play, so they play independently without interacting with others. So this is just them playing with blocks, reading a book, kind of thing. Onlooker play, so this is they're more watching others play. They're not really participating in playing, and they don't want to play or participate in that specific play. They're more interested in watching and kind of seeing how it functions and works. Parallel play is when they play next to someone else as well, but they're not interacting. They could be using the same materials, but they're not interacting. Or they could be doing 2 separate activities, but they're just sitting either across from each other or in the same proximity, but they're not interacting. And then we have the associative play. So this is where they're interacting now. They're sharing materials without organized goal. This is just, hey, you want to play? You and me build some blocks together. We'll just put them up and we'll just stack them and see how high they get just for funs. And then cooperative play is working together towards a common goal. So this could be more like the rule following game as well, with games that have more rules and structure to it. Or it could be also, like I mentioned, like a more goal oriented. Let's see how big we can make this castle, or let's see how intricate we can make this castle, how many blocks it takes to make a castle, kind of thing, and they're able to work together to count all of those different parts. So the research here shows that observing children's social play provides valuable insight into the overall development and social competence. And this was taken from the developments of a social play evaluation tool for preschool children. So children may move between stages depending on their age, environment, personality, and their play situations. So this theory in action is commonly, like I mentioned before, toddlers commonly engaging in parallel play. So this is where they play next to each other, but they're not interacting. They're minding their own business, they're doing their own thing, but they like the company, they like to be in the same proximity as the other children. Preschool will see an increase of the associative and cooperative play. So associative is them working together, interacting, but there's no common goal. It's just open, free play, where cooperative is more, there's a goal involved, there's something that wants to be accomplished. And in these 2 phases, they learn how to communicate, negotiate, and problem solve as well. And then teachers can observe children's play behavior to identify strengths and areas where additional social support may be beneficial for the child. Some educational importance for this specific stage is that each stage of play contributes to communication, sharing, empathy, self-regulation, and teamwork. So all of them will see that kind of those common things they all have in common. Educators should value every stage of play rather than expect all children to engage in cooperative play. Some kids may be a little slower than others to kind of warm up to that. They're still kind of figuring things out, trying to see how it is. It's best to support them and not so much push them too far before they're ready for it. Remember to keep them in their zone of proximal development to still develop it more, but keeping it in the range where they're understanding and able to comprehend it. Play assessment tools can help educators monitor children's social development and planned activities to support social competence and inclusion. So social play develops progressively and plays a vital role in children's emotional, social, language, and interpersonal development. Thank you so much for joining me for my presentation on play and the theories behind play. I hope you enjoyed, and thank you so much. All information used for this presentation in regards to the theories and the backgrounds of the theories are referenced here in these 3 citations.